Let's jump into Ring of Power a little bit, so we give a little bit of a fair chance for Max to try to sell me on how great this show is and why I should spend some time catching up on Rings of Power.
It's a yawn.
Sell it, Max. Sell it.
Oh gosh, it is such a yawn, and there's so many scenes in the show that it's just boggles my mind. How did this get passed through quality assurance? I don't understand some of the decisions, and I'm not a big, I know there are others out there who have better lore or knowledge of Tolkien and his works, but at least I feel like I can at least say I understand the spirit of the story itself by the Peter Jackson movies, and reading the Lord of the Rings books after the fact when those movies came out. But it just some of the decisions by some of these characters just simply don't make sense. They don't seem to be smart. I mean, like, I'll just say it right here. Like, there's one part where Galadriel jumps into the water, and I literally laughed my butt off because I was just like, that is such a stupid move. I don't understand. Why would you do this? And then there's been several scenes where I'm just like, why are you spending so much? You have so much money that you spent on this show, and you're spending it by like 10 or 15 or 20-second slow motion shots to just kind of have your camera focused on one character doing this. I don't, it's mind boggling to me. And I'm just like, what is going on? Where are we headed? It just feels like every episode it's something like, and even some of the characters that they have created themselves, it feels like fan fiction to me. I mean, I know fan fiction better than this. So I just don't understand.
AJ, have you watched this show? Are you up to date?
No, I'm not touching it, Pops.
Save yourselves.
I literally watched the opening sequence where the kids were picking at each other in the little paper boat thing, and I was just like, I found that so uninteresting, just the 2 minutes, that I was like, I got something else I can do. Like, I just didn't. I know that sounds that's almost ridiculous to think about, but it's like I didn't really. Everything has been so negative surrounding the show. I am not a Tolkien lore person either. I'm familiar with the movies, of course. I revisited the books, at least at a high level, because I don't think I read all of Lord of the Rings again when the Tolkien biopic movie came out, and we were covering that for what I was working for at the time. But I know enough, and then just the way the promotion has gone, and the cheesiness of like the costuming looks like drapes and like knockoff armor, and just, I mean, some of the sets and the CGI and stuff doesn't look bad, but it's like the grand scheme of it, I just don't care. And I also am like, there's no stakes. Like, I just know where all this is going, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't really care too much about how Sauron becomes Sauron and whatever.
What was it? It's some of the. And you're right, Pops. The sets and the scenes, it's so, there's no balance to it as far, they've spent so much money on this show, and there's scenes where I'm like, okay, I can see where the money is put here, but then in other scenes I'm just like, this looks cheap. I mean, it's so, there's no balance to it. There's no real structure to the budget as to where they're spreading out that money. And then you have, and I'm definitely seeing this a lot. There are two things that I have noticed about the show. They keep talking about, like, for this is my paraphrasing of it, but I think everybody understands this line from The Last Jedi, but it's, kill the past, kill it if you have to, kind of vibes to it, especially with some of the dialogue. They keep talking about the past and, killing it and everything else. I'm just like, yo, this is kind of not subtle Amazon.
Yeah, a lot of on the nose.
Yeah, and then the other one is not only, so you have two concepts. So you have the past situation going on, but they keep having scenes where it's very member-berry-ish to Peter Jackson's trilogy. There's this one scene where I'm not going to go, talk about it too much, but somebody dies, and the scene is so similar. It's not the same, but similar to Boromir's death. So it's kind of like, all right, so you're talking about killing the past, but then well, first of all, they didn't reach back out to Peter Jackson because they realized that the script was terrible and he probably would not want to do it. But second of all, I'm just like, but you're still calling back to something that's not in the story's past, but out in our past in terms of what we remember. So I'm like, I'm a little confused, Amazon. You want to use something that's,
they want it both ways.
They want it both ways, and it's like, I'm sorry, but you can't do that. So
Jacob says he lasted 11 minutes, so you're ahead of me probably about 9. I lasted like 2, I think. So, and I'm 2 ahead of AJ. Just so we're clear how far we are in the show. It was a show no one asked for, written by people that don't know or care about the lore. Amazon, quote, consume plebes. Yes, a very expensive consume plebes, a very expensive. I think this is why it's so important that the people have hit me, and I got this the worst probably during the Kenobi of, if you hate it so much, why are you watching it? And worse, why are you making videos? Like, why are you talking about it? I'm like, because this crap's going to be there forever. This crap's going to be there. Sure. These companies, quote, may change hands, licensing, they may get sold, whatever. But reality is, it's still content. It will exist in some form or another. And someone's going to be watching this crap. And I don't want anybody to think that I like this stuff if I don't like it. So at some point, I will endure something that's even as bad as what I hear about Lord of the Rings knockoff show. So I don't know. I don't know about AJ. AJ seems like he has no chance. No chance.
So, my wife tried to get me into watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I made it to the second movie, and it's entertaining. It's not for me, but I can see how a lot of people enjoy it. But as I was watching these movies, then the announcement of the Rings of Power came out, and then I see the trailer, and I'm able to spot differences or just weird moves. We could say agenda-driven moves. And I wasn't even a true fan of this stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I don't even want to get invested because that's coming out. And I don't want to see that disrespect these characters.
You can say bastardization. I will go there. I will go with bastardization. That is a fair word to use for what this is too. It's just a horrible byproduct that is stealing, as Mags was saying, right? It's trying to steal both ways. It's trying to steal the stuff that you look at and you feel comfortable in, even though we're going to erase things we don't like. But then we're also going to tease you and jingle some things over here that we know you'll kind of recognize and you might like, and that you'll feel comfortable consuming this. It'll make it easier, make the time go by faster. And that's good. What is there anything in particular you saw in the promotion? It was like a major turnoff for me. My biggest thing was I saw trailers and stuff where I never got any story. I never got any idea what on earth what we're gonna do with the show. Like, it's just a bunch of random visual stuff and just not any like, this is what the story is going to be. I really don't. From them, I know I've heard from people talking about the show, but from them, I don't get what the show is. They never really told me much.
I remember I thought they mentioned the rings. It was called Rings of Power, and I think Galadriel was reaching for a ring. But because I seen the first and the second movie, then I was like, okay, well, there were some rings made. This big bad guy, I guess he has all the power. So I was able to pick up on things. So I just figured, okay, maybe people who actually read the books, these diehard fans of Tolkien, maybe they actually know what's going on. But seeing, Galadriel from the Lord of the Rings movies, and then seeing this warrior woman character, and I was like, okay, well, I've seen that happen with so many other female characters that I know, to where when I saw other people talking about it, and they said that, like, this is not who this character is supposed to be. She's not supposed to be this strong, independent woman, don't need no man type stuff. Then I was like, oh, okay. So they're, again, bastardizing this franchise. So now I don't want any part of it because I don't want to start making all the videos saying this is wrong because of this. And I was just like, you know what? I can keep my attention on the struggles that I'm already having with like Disney itself.
Mags,
Hmm.
we don't have to worry about spoilers at all on this because I don't care. So the one thing I have heard, I want validation is all of the promotion. I mean, tons of the quotes and stuff that was coming from promotion was centering around this black actress who plays this dwarf, right? She's a dwarf, right? Or is she a hobbit? What is she?
She's a dwarf, Diza,
Right.
Queen Diza.
So Queen Diza. Oh, that sounds so ridiculous in Lord of the Rings fandom. Like it sounds like, obviously a Queen Latifah and it sounds like an amalgam. Like they're in a room and you just see them like putting this together. Like, oh, that's it. That's perfect. I can just see these scissoring hands doing this. Okay,
They
so
probably, but they probably wanted La Decent, but they was like, nah, that's too on the nose right there. Let's take the
but
La.
Queen. She's a queen. She's a slay girl.
Oh my gosh, you're right, AJ.
But I heard she's barely in it so far. Like she's just not relevant, really.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. I know a lot of other people. I mean, I like their interaction too. Durin and Diza. They seem to be better as far as characters are in this show itself. I mean, Elrond is just. I don't. He's not my Elrond. But
that's the guy that looks like Doogie Howser and Ryan Kinel.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
except he's not as angry as Ryan Kinel. he's writing poetry, and that's not right.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That's some angry poetry right there.
But what was it? But yeah, she's barely in the show, and yet they have used her as if she's like a human shield for them to hide behind. And I don't know about anybody here, but me personally, I find that very insulting. To use her as a prop for like a sacrificial lamb and a prop for their projections. And it's disgusting to me. I mean, I can't.
I find it all racist. I got to be honest. I don't want to
very racist.
I don't want to be around people that are exploiting other people. Like that's how I feel. I feel like it's a racist move to try to do stuff like that, and I don't want to be associated with people who behave that way. I don't behave that way. I don't see things that way. So why would I want to associate with people that behave that way? So for me, that was very off-putting. And like I said, I wasn't really invested in the show, but now that's all come out, and I'm like, well, clearly that's the only reason that she was put front and center. Like there's no other explanation. If she's an irrelevant character, and there's all this, hoopla around her being Ladisa. And that's what I'm going to call her because that sounds way better than whatever character they gave her. So anyway, I don't know. But, look, we have Bifer in here from, I believe, from overseas. He's from India. So, hey, man, he's been a big supporter of mine. Thank you so much for hopping in here. And Jacob Ironside. Yes, you know what? Why? Why does a rock sink, a boat float? Because a boat was made to float. And you know what I thought about whenever this happened? I know this is so stupid. This is how childish my brain works. They're throwing rocks. And I'm like, you guys know, paper beats rock. I don't understand this scene. I don't understand this scene at all. So, is there anything that you've enjoyed, Mags, of Ring of Power? Tell me on, okay, you know what, Pop? It's not good. It's not bad. But while you're watching it, you probably will fill this in. Swordplay?
There's barely any swordplay. How do I say this?
Not jumping off of a sword, almost cutting your feet in the process.
That whole scene just aggravates me because I'm just
we should just probably move on. It's probably better for my health.
Well, it's not only that, but it's like, okay, they're all elves. Why aren't the guy elves also fighting alongside Galadriel? No, she's got to do it all by herself. And it's like, this is so unbelievable. I mean, I know she's powerful, but if they're trying to, because I saw something the other day where they were talking about, or on Twitter where people are defending the show and Galadriel, and it's like, one of the things they said was, I'm paraphrasing, of course. Well, they need to tone her down for this show to show her character development into the Peter Jackson trilogy. But I'm just like, but then how is she doing all of this, acrobatics like this and powers hyped to the core, but she still needs to develop herself? I'm confused. It just doesn't make any. They're so confused as to what they really want out of the show, and they don't know how to write characters in terms of how they build up to be who they're
You know how
supposed
much-
to be.
You know how I feel about that. I stand corrected,
Yeah.
Bradford. Thank you so much for letting me know you're in New York City. I just know I see you on all my other those type of films and stuff, and that type of deal. It's just good to know. All right, New York City it is. So, all right, well, let's move on from that. For love of freaking Pete.